Many times we talk about the systems that force us to keep going, whether it's late stage capitalism, whether it's inflation, whether it's um, the expectation of others to keep going. If your boss, if your boss's boss isn't taking a break, that means your boss isn't going to be able to take a break. If your boss isn't going to be taking a break, you sure as hell will have a hard time taking a break. So it kind of trickled down from there. What we often don't see, though, is that we can do the reverse and use that system to our advantage. A good a good example is right now. Both Christmas and New Year's fall in the middle of the week here in the United States. Literally fall on Wednesday, right in the middle. I'm I'm hanging out with you on Wednesday the 18th, exactly a week from now. Christmas, exactly a week after that, New Year's Day. I'm sorry, it's not New Year's, it's New Year's Day. What we can do then is actually, particularly if you're independent, to use that time to recalibrate. This might sound obvious, but it's important to state this. You have these times off for a reason. The advantage of being an independent creator, independent artist, independent entrepreneur, business person, or coach like myself, the beauty of it is it could be a random Wednesday at 10 a.m. and I don't have any clients, my kids are in school or otherwise occupied, and I can go to the grocery store. I can go get an oil change. I can do a midday meditation. The other side of that is that it could be 11 o'clock at night. I could have my kids to bed. Everyone could be resting. And I could be up editing videos for the show. I could be researching my next keynote. I could be putting the finishing touches on something that I'm ghostwriting. The challenge with us being independent is that we can always be on. Yes, there's times when we can be off. I had a personal appointment this morning and I just took an hour this morning to get it done, which is great. But that means we can be on all the time too. We forget that. It's almost like a Workaholics Anonymous. I've been formally created with the fellow freelancers and independents over the years that I've become friends with. It's like, what are you doing? Oh yeah, I gotta take my kid to this particular thing today. So yeah, I'll be up working late tonight. Oh, you're gonna get some dinner? Yeah, I'm just gonna eat it at my desk. You know, it's not too much different than the cubicle culture in that we often joke about now. That was popular in the 80s. You just bring your lunch to your desk and you just eat at your cubicle because you have to get this work done. The difference with cubicle culture, of course, is that usually you punch out literally with the card. You punch out at 5, you punch out at 6. There was no major internet access, only the dial-up. There was no hybrid work. There was no, oh, you know what? It's the end of the day. I'll just work on it tonight because I need to go and eat dinner with my family and I'll just stay up tonight. That wasn't as much of an option because we didn't have the connectivity that we have. So what I'm saying is that we, at this point, in general, as a whole, as a society, have to decide to unplug. It's even more crucial for people like us who actually can keep working. I had a particular crunch about a month and a half ago where I did an all-nighter, which I have not done an all-nighter in a very long time on purpose. But there were 4 or 5 different client things happening at the same time. And I felt better that I got it done. I was not planning on doing an all-nighter, but I pretty much did one. I think I fell asleep around 4 in the morning, maybe 5 and slept for a couple hours and kept the day going with my kids. You could do that all the time when you're independent. If you're new to independent work, which again, I was bigging up the Institute for Independent Journalism having their conference. Again, the link is below. If you're getting new to that kind of work, the kind of work that I'm talking about, where you're doing a startup and you're in Silicon Valley, you're outside of Silicon Valley at this point. You're doing your first startup. You're starting your business and it's just starting to take off. And so you're starting to get a lot of work and you got bills to pay. If you're a new parent or you have someone who's newly dependent on you, shout out to y'all that are such as Kim Moy, shout out to you. I sent you a message earlier with Caregiver Wisdom. You can check her out over on LinkedIn. She has a newsletter where you're actually supporting someone else who's going through their challenges, and suddenly your time is crunched out. That's kind of that period of time when you're going through those shifts where you really need to build these habits to have this rest for yourself. There's no one, and I've said this for years, I've said this in my books. Again, if you buy the Complete Bring Your Work collection, I talk about it. There's no one that's going to pull me aside and say, hey, Damon, have you eaten dinner? Hey, you know what? You worked really hard today. Why don't your work, it seems like it's slipping a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and take the rest of the day? Like, no one's going to do that. It's not meant as a pity party, because I love my career, and hopefully you love your career, starting to love your career yourself. My point is that we have a level of independence here, and that cuts both ways. I say this because with the holidays, it's possible to work right on through. Even though the banks are closed and your friends and colleagues who have more traditional jobs might literally not be able to work. Some of them will still have to work, but most of them will not have to work. We have the option because our work is right here. Our work is on our computer. Our work is on our phone. Our work is on, in the artist shed that we have set up. We could be working the whole time. We could be trying to get ahead on things for the new year. I implore you to take that break. So use that systemic part to your advantage. Chances are your clients, remember, are not going to be calling you. If they are calling you, you can go ahead and let them know that. Be like, no, I'm not doing that. So you can automate how you communicate with folks when you're taking a break, whether it's in the system or outside the system. So setting up those cues. A really simple way to do that is to treat it almost like you're going on vacation, where you can put your phone into vacation mode if you can be that hardcore as far as putting it into airplane mode. You could also turn your notifications off. You can let people know ahead of time, which I've already done. If you work with me, you've already gotten a message where it's like, I was like, oh, because there's literally a new client that I might be working with over the next, in the upcoming days. And they just came in like yesterday. And I let them know, I'm like, hey, I'd love to chat with you. If we can chat over the next couple of days, that'd be great. Otherwise, Happy New Year to you. You know what I mean? But setting those boundaries without guilt and without shame. And truth be told, I talked about this in today's newsletter at joindamon.me. Truth be told, when we do that, we have the opportunity to actually empower and give strength to other people and allow them to do that thing without shame as well. If you're going to get into systems, then you need some good systems. Let's talk about them. One of my favorites is called Calendly. You've probably heard me talk about it before. Calendly allows you to let this online calendar know, and it can sync with your calendar in your phone as well. Let them know when you're available. So essentially allows you to, I never thought about it like this, but it lets you to set up office hours. In today's world, in today's world with hybrid, remote work and all that gets super messy. If you work with Slack at all, there's opportunities to say, in Slack, you can go ahead and say, I'm off hours, or, turn off the switch, I'm not available, so you don't get notifications. Excuse me. This is like a real world application of that simple thing. Excuse me. And so you go to Calendly, you can sync it with your calendar, your family's calendar, if you have a family, go and get that going. And then once you do that, then if you have a new, if you have a new client or someone new that wants to work with you, as I had recently, you can send them a link and say, hey, this is my calendar, this is my availability, pick a time. Two things happen with this. One is clear, and the other one is more unconscious. The first thing that happens is y'all don't have to go back and forth as far as when you're going to meet. These are the times that I'm available. Pick one. So it gets straight to the point. It's automated, so they can go ahead and click the link. They pick a time, and then that calendar meeting invitation is sent to both of your respective calendars. And then you just confirm it and say, yes, boom, you guys are meeting on the 21st or whatever, right? So that's the conscious part of it. The unconscious part of it, or the part that actually works really well as far as what I'm talking about right now, is that you have the opportunity to actually create a boundary with other people. So it's not just saying, oh, I'll meet at any time. When did you want to meet? And you're not going with the back and forth. Instead, you're basically saying, this is when I'm available. I would like to do it this way, and this is the vibes, right? And I think it's so important to have that experience and to say, these are the boundaries to the work that I do. This is when I'm going to be available. And it's all good if it doesn't work for you. Maybe we can meet at a time in the upcoming year. I know sometimes we have the blurry boundaries because, particularly when we're independent, sometimes we don't know literally where our next check, in that case, where our next meal is coming from. That's part of being independent. Yes, you have the security and you have the diversity, which is one of the reasons why I have so many things that I do. I like doing a lot of things, but part of it is that the diversity creates security. So if this particular thing happens to be going slow, or if there's a client that's running late on paying me, then I have this other money coming in, yes, that creates some type of security. But the psychological muscle that's required to stay in that mindset can be taxing. And so you have a client that says, yes, this hasn't happened to me, thank God. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a client. But you can have that client that says, okay, well, the only time I can meet is on Christmas Eve. But I got this paycheck for you. You're like, right? Oh my God, what am I gonna do? But we have these days, these times in the system all for a reason. Yes, it's for the holidays, but also it's to stop. Take advantage of that. I really like Calendly a lot because it gives the opportunity for us to not have to say no directly to a person, but to say, hey, this is when I'm available. And then it kind of outsources what that pressure. As I've gotten older and faced my parents, even when I was younger, I didn't have a big problem saying no. But for some of us, that's a big challenge. This is part of saying no. It's an opportunity to do that. I just threw the newsletter in there as well if you want to go a little bit deeper. It's a free newsletter I have every Wednesday. It's at joindamon.me. Today's is Humanity Needs You, and I talk about how to balance the efficiency necessary for us to get the rest that we need and so forth, along with those things we really want to invest our time into, which is really what we're talking about today. One of my favorite ways to get some of that time back and to carve out time to rest is Meet Edgar. Shout out to Laura and the other folks that are leading things over there. I love your work. Meet Edgar is really simple. Any social media posts, and I mean for nearly any platform, instead of putting it on directly on those platforms, let's say you're related to Facebook. Instead of putting it on Facebook, you put it into Meet Edgar. The whole post, any images you have with it, then Meet Edgar will look at your different posts, maybe look at the patterns of when you post on Facebook and when the engagements are the best, and it'll recommend the best times for it. Or you can do fixed times and say, yeah, every 9 a.m., every Wednesday at 9 a.m., I want to do a post. You can randomize the posts, or you can say this specific post. You can have the post expire at a certain point. For instance, I was talking about the Independent Institute for Independent Journalists. You know, the conference is going to be in February, so maybe I want the link to expire February 1st because the conference is about to happen, right? And I don't want to post about the conference in March, stuff like that. What's great is that number one, you don't have to do the posting because you give Meet Edgar the permission to do the posting. So I'm not on a bunch of social media platforms, but if you do follow me on there, you'll see that I'll do a lot of posting. That's Meet Edgar. So shout out to them. I'm not sitting there on social media all day. It's like, no, they're posting it. Because a lot of stuff I do, such as this show, it's evergreen. So if you watch an episode from Bring It Worth from 2 years ago, we might be talking about slightly different things as far as with, we might be talking about what's happening in Syria because the recent development happened literally over the past week. But all the other stuff, it's evergreen. So if you're doing evergreen content, evergreen videos in my case, evergreen articles in my case, etc., then this is a great opportunity to do that. What I love about it is that it'll actually randomize things as well. So there could be a video from 2021, around the time that the show started, that fits what you need right now. And you might see it on social media, but it might be episode 25, and we're episode 401 today. And I might have forgotten about the episode because I've already done 375 episodes. But then Meet Edgar will show up a post and say, hey, da-da-da. And you might be like, oh, what's this? And you click on it and it's new to you, as we used to say in the newspaper business. It's like, it might not be new, but it's new to you. Our main goal is to have it new to you. And of course, the beautiful part is that you don't have to spend your whole day on social media. Meet Edgar is going to be working all through the holidays. Shout out to Meet Edgar. It's going to be working all through the holidays. I don't need to do it. Thank you very much. I actually have an affiliate link here, so I think you'll get some type of discount if you do it through this link. So if you're going to do it, do it through this link. Check it out. See what's happening. My another recommendation I have is Dropbox. Shout out to Drew Houston. If you're not familiar with it, it basically backs up all your material. There's a couple major books that I've done in my career where I was working on the manuscript and it was equivalent of a dog ate my homework. And that manuscript was gone. And I might have been able to recover some old version of whatever, but those words disappeared. Dropbox is cool because it'll actually, we call it syncing nowadays. It will sync across different computers, which were not available. That's how far back it was when this sync happened. We just had one copy of a file, and if you're wise enough, you duplicate it at the end of the day, just have a duplicate somewhere on some, wasn't even flash drives or whatever was happening hot at the time. This allows you to sync with that. I recommend this because you can rest if you have Dropbox backing up your stuff. If you're collaborating with other people, then they can have access to parts of the Dropbox. And so you're not the only one working on it. That means when you're taking a break, when you're resting, and one of your colleagues or whomever you're working with needs a copy of stuff, they can get it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the bottleneck with it. That means when you're on vacation or you're resting, or even if you're meditating in the corner, which I've done all three recently, you have an opportunity to do that. It's super affordable considering how powerful it is, and it's definitely saved my behind quite a few times. And the homie, I think I have the book here. I do. I read the book so often, it's all over the place. I've read it to my kids as bedtime stories. I'm not kidding. They fall asleep to this book. It makes me proud as a parent. I'm like, yes, this is what you need to fall asleep to. Forget the lullabies. Rest is Resistance by Dr. Tricia Hersey. Fantastic book. I didn't get into this book until this year. It's been out for a few years. It's probably my favorite book of the year. next to, there's another book about self-compassion. That's literally the name of the book. And I think it's by Dr. Litt. It's over here. Maybe I'll do an episode at the beginning of the year talking about my favorite books of the past year. So good. You see, it's dog-eared to hell. Ridiculously good. Her argument, if I can sum it up, hopefully gracefully, is this. Our ability to actually be our best selves is tied into our ability to actually rest. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned and trained to believe that we're more like robots, that we're cogs in a machine, and that is our purpose. The secret is, which is why I keep talking about this book, is that if we actually allowed ourselves to rest, number one, we'd see how many jacked up things are happening within our system. Because when you're exhausted, you're compliant. So that's one. The second thing is that we had the opportunity to make our world more equitable, because the folks in power want us to be exhausted for a reason, number one. And so just our ability to have assembly, to think clearly, to think strategically, to try to get not just hustle for another day, but to think long term, that is intimately connected to our ability to rest. And as she talks about, it's not you going on a vacation for a month. It doesn't have to be a sabbatical. It could be taking a nap. It could be resting your eyes. It could be doing a sun bath or a sound bath or a nature bath. There's so many different baths nowadays. We're just walking under some trees. If you're living in Gotham City, shout out to my folks over on the East Coast of New York, go to Central Park and just sit there. That is rest. We are not meant to do all the time. I can't recommend this book more. Heavy concepts in there. Some of the stuff even goes back to, I was a little bit of heavy stuff. It's not as simple as you feeling like you can't stop. That's actually by design. Shout out to Dr. Hersey. Love your book. I believe she has a new book that came out too. I have not read it yet because obviously I'm still passionately in love with this one. I'll probably read this one a second time while I'm resting over the next couple of weeks. You're watching Bring Your Worth to TV, whatever it's called. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. My name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs like yourself. Bring Your Worth TV, most Wednesdays, which if you're going to catch me live, it's going to be on a Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free. Shout out to y'all on Twitch. Feel free to subscribe and follow me on there. And my newest book is the complete Bring Your Worth collection, available wherever fine books are sold. You can also listen to the audiobook right now here at bringyourworth.tv and check it out. And of course, there's a new channel on Twitch. So for y'all, what are good ways that you can use the current systems you're in to rest? We talk about there being oppressive systems and us having to grind it out and all that. In what ways are you able to flip the script? And when you actually do have a break, like the holidays coming up, are you taking that break? What provisions can you make to actually take that break? I didn't mean to rhyme, but here we are. Feel free to jump in the comments on Twitch, LinkedIn, or any of the platforms. I appreciate y'all. I'm in a silly mood. Must be that holiday spirit. Must be the eggnog.